On this week's Hot List, sorry statement. The Netherlands apologizes for its history of slavery. What does it mean for its biggest former colony? Party time, more political parties qualify for the 2024 elections. Is that a good thing? And holiday cheer. The government says no travel restrictions for year-end holidays. Where is everyone going? Hello and welcome. This is Hot Indonesia. I'm Dalton Tanonaka in Jakarta. Let's get to it. My co-host, Millie Lukito, is CEO of the Mobiliari Group from her home in Jakarta, and Linda Ibrahim, writer and business consultant based in the capital city. Hot topic number one, sorry statement. It was not a surprise, but still a major step to take. The Netherlands Prime Minister Mark Rutte apologized this week for his country's 250 years of slavery. His focus was on the 600,000 Africans shipped to Dutch colonies, calling the period ugly, painful, and even downright shameful. He said a $212 million education fund will be established to address the legacy of slavery. Now, as a former Dutch colony, as we know, Indonesia was part of that legacy with documentation of forced labor in construction and agriculture activities. Linda, some countries will never apologize, but Holland has done it now twice in a year.
Yes, well, at least in the case of Indonesia, let me read it. This is from Boni Triana, an Muslim historian. Actually, the Dutch apologized 3 times. In March 2020, the king apologized for the violence during the 1945-1949, when Indonesia had claimed independence, but the Dutch did try to return. And then 2022, twice, indeed, the prime minister apologized. Also, the first one was the violence during 45-49, and then recently for the slavery in the colonies, in which, if you look closely, he only apologized to the 7 countries. The last one, Indonesia, was not part of them. But what had happened in Indonesia since the 17th century by the Dutch, they never apologized that for.
So do you think they should?
Yeah. Things that they did here was like almost maybe double or thrice whatever they had done in the rest of the colonies combined. This is a large area, and I could only, from the top of my head, what happened to the construction of the road between Anyer and Panarukan, 1,000 kilometers during Daniel's time. Thousands who died, almost all of them were never really paid for. And that's just one thing. And what happened to Westerling in Makassar, and what happened to things that happened in Sumatra along the plantations. There was so many violence that the Dutch committed throughout what is now Indonesia since 17th century, and they never apologized for that. Actually, that historian, Boni Triana, with a reputable museum in Amsterdam, earlier this year, or was it last year, I forgot, had a very good historical exhibition. But it was met with a lot of opposition from Dutch Parliament, because they felt like Boni Triana was bringing up.
Remember, we had that discussion on one of our shows.
Right.
In America, reparations were paid to Japanese Americans and their families who were forced into internment camps in World War II. You guys may have learned about that here as well. $20,000 to each family. Millie, should this happen here in this case?
For sure. You know the phrase, talk is cheap. So why apologize? And also I'm questioning the timing. It has been not only decades, but centuries since that happened. So what is actually the trigger for the Prime Minister to set his apologies? Again, I'm questioning the timing. And then what is next? The most important is what's the next steps? Reparation, yes, okay, one of them is reparation. But I think the Dutch government, can show more presence in Indonesia in terms of, for example, building more schools, perhaps, providing better education, being there to build the nations with us, the nations that once they extorted, with slavery, which is a highest crime of humanity. I would like to see more concrete steps of what the Dutch government going to do next. What will be the next step?
Yeah, maybe that's a bilateral issue. You know, as Linda said, he addressed the prime minister addressed certain countries, Indonesia not among them, and maybe that education fund will address some of those issues you mentioned, Millie, schools and other education product. But the issue of reparations, that's what a lot of people on social media were calling for. And as you said, talk is cheap, money talks. Indonesians were quick to respond on the various platforms, some calling it a momentous occasion, others remembering the horror. Linda, is an apology at least a good first step?
Yes, and if I may add into what Ibu Mili was saying, there was such effort. It was even an institution called IGGI. I was very young at the time. I was still in school, but that was during Suharto's time. And there was this institution that helped Indonesia with a lot of construction projects and education. But it was shut down, I think, by Suharto during his last years because Suharto felt that IGGI had been controlling a lot of policies too much. I think IGGI at the time was making a lot of criticisms about, the democracy in Indonesia. But there was that institution for a long time. Even the
Yes.
last press, yeah.
But it remained the IGGI, yes, but it remained only something that is sort of a makeshift, so to speak, rather than being able to be present in the whole of our country's development. Yes, bilateral issues, of course, but we know that the Dutch government has done very, very little in terms of their involvement in construction and building of our nation. I think that's the only way to show that they are really that this is a real apologies and yes, let's build your nations together. But now I think Indonesia has passed that stage because we have become a very independent nation and our economy is growing very well. 2023. Next year will be a lot of gloomy reports, but I think Indonesia will once again survive. So again, I'm questioning the timing and why that they say their apologies now, because it seems it's rather irrelevant.
In legal systems, compensation is often another way to right a past wrong. And in the case of Japanese Americans in America, yeah, they said 20,000 is a drop in the bucket for what many of them lost, but at least it's a legal sign that the government felt responsible. And I think there should be a case for that in this country. It's tedious. It'll take years to get ancestors and family members to document where they were and so on and so forth. But it's not out of the question. It's happened before. Last thing, Millie, real quick. Your mom spoke Dutch. Many older Indonesians attended school in Holland. Don't you agree, though, that what the Prime Minister did here was necessary to move forward in this historical relationship?
Yes, of course. Many of Indonesians still speak Dutch, and many of these people also, they see Dutch as part of their culture, their background and upbringing, yes. But again, the government, I think, should be more actively involved in wanting to right their wrongs, Dalton, rather than just a statement and then and with a lack of follow-ups.
Okay, perhaps the next government will tackle that. Hot Indo will continue shortly with Party Time, having nearly 20 political parties. Is that a good thing?
Hot Indonesia on the Indonesian channel. The programs which I was a co-host before becoming minister is a finalist once again for the best talk show at the ASEAN Television Awards. best wishes to all nominees.
I love Indonesia. I love the food. Yummy. Wow. I'm gonna hunt for ingredients. Now I'm ready to cook. Let's go to the kitchen. It's done. Let's meet to eat.
Foodiepedia on the Indonesia Channel.
Home is not just one place.
but a collection of memories in many places.
It's where conversations create connections.
And where seasons change, but not a moment is wasted.
Because it's where we live.
And the Ascot lifestyle we have come to love.
Ascot is where we want to be.
Hi, I'm Rory He. You're watching the Indonesia Channel, the home of good sport.
I'm Trần Minh Ngân of VCCTV Net Việt in Hanoi.
I'm Thairat Thomya of Thailand's Thairat TV in Bangkok.
I'm Monica Sambodet from the National Television of Cambodia in Phnom Penh.
I'm Raymond Go of Malaysia's TV3 in Kuala Lumpur.
I'm Glenda Chong of Singapore's Channel News Asia.
I'm Raisa Chantami of the Indonesia Channel at the ASEAN Secretariat in Jakarta.
This is your weekly look into the dynamic Southeast Asia region.
ASEAN Today on the Indonesia Channel.
The Best of Bali takes viewers on a special guided tour to the treasures of the island of the gods.
The romantic dinner is beautiful.
The Best of Bali, only on the Indonesia Channel.
You're watching Hot Indonesia with Millie, Linda, and me. Hot topic number 2, party time. In other parts of the world, it's usually 2 major political parties fighting it out in elections. Officials here this month announced the new number of parties qualified for the 2024 elections. 17. That's 3 more than the last vote, an indication of dissatisfaction with the bigger groups. All will be trying to win favor with the 205 million potential voters in this country. Millie, first let's look at the positive. More parties means more voices heard, and they might not win, but their banner is up and flying.
Yeah, but I think 17 parties, that's really too many. Look at the democracy system in the United States. They only have 2. Even that, they are already bickering so deeply, let alone 17 political parties. It overwhelms voters. And for once, the next election, 2024, for the first time, a lot of millennials and first-time voters will join in. So can you imagine being faced with so many choices and not enough communication from the parties themselves of what they stand for, their vision, and if they are in the parliament, what they are going to do? There's basically almost no communication. We don't know what the parties are there for and what they stand for. So it will be very overwhelming, I'm sure, for first-time voters.
The qualification process, it doesn't seem that rigorous if 17 parties can qualify. Many of these parties are single-issue parties, meaning for them it's more about one cause than about governing a country. Linda, 17 too many for you?
Too many. I mean, there's not going to be enough distinction between what they're fighting for. So I think it's going to boil down to just popularity contest of who they're trying to push in, to push forward. I'm sorry. And then I think for the first time voters, it's going to be a bad democracy lesson. So instead of finding out what these people are fighting for, it's just who are these people fighting with each other. So that's what's gonna happen.
And also, in addition, these parties will be forced to form a coalition, an alliance, so that they can be bigger. So actually, why don't they coalesce and form an alliance and just agree? Who is lead? Yeah, you should lead the party, for example, and we just form an alliance with you.
You mean before they form a new party?
Before they form a new party.
Ego, that's why not. Ego.
Exactly. So this is an ego ride, actually, rather than
ego trip.
Yes, it's ego trip rather than thinking about the nation, thinking about the voters, thinking about more the long-term, wiser impact rather than the short-term ego trip.
Yeah, I mean, not all of them are purely vehicles for individuals. Some of them really believe in one issue, but like I said, they won't win, but they'll get their platform heard at least. Now, we've come from a one-party dominant system here not too long ago, right? So I think, Millie, we are still sorting out democracy in this country, and I hope that in the not-too-distant future, you will see a consolidation of parties. Maybe this next election will tell the story because everybody's voting for all of the offices at one time. It could be a huge success or it could be a huge mess. Linda, your thoughts on that?
I think it would potentially become a huge mess instead of a good thing. Because for all the reasons that both Ibu Mila and I have elaborated, I personally think it's just going to be a popularity contest, and you're gonna see smearing one way or the other, and unearthing dirt and all of that, and beyond what's been seen. So if you think that 2019, 2014 elections were bad, this is going to be horrible. Personally, I'm not too excited, to wait for 2024.
But why would the number of parties mean more smearing and more dirt?
No, because like I said, they're left with not enough distinction on like the policies or a diversity of their people. So it's just gonna be like, let's just mudslinging each other, see who gets bad rap more, then that will be less vote. It's gonna boil down to that, because when you have too many people fighting for the same cake.
In addition, these party chair people, the leaders of the party, they are also eyeing actually to be included as in the cabinet post. Yeah. So they see that when they have a party and then they fight for, let's say, one particular cause, two particular causes, sometimes they are rewarded as a consolidation prize. They're appointed ministers or they're appointed, in the legislature. So many, they just want to be in the executive branch, and that is like a prize money, so to speak.
Yeah, and that's politics in any society. Ideally, I think 3 to 4 political parties serve voters best. A two-party system is a little too narrow. Yeah, and you mentioned, Millie, in the United States. I mean, it's a horrible situation. I mean, it's just black or white. There's no in between, and that's why third parties are kind of springing up finally in the U.S. So, Millie, how soon and how many do you see in Indonesia's political future? Parties, I mean.
Indonesians are not that big with consolidation because, like Linda referred to, this is mostly an ego trip, I think. So consolidation will probably take still more and more years, if not decades, for our democracy to mature enough to know that we have shared values. We might as well consolidate, but that will take really a long time still.
I mean, the next election cycle after the next one, or how? I mean, hopefully within the next decade.
Hopefully within the next decade, but I don't think so. I don't think it will be that fast because I also see even more sprawling of other parties, like the party only especially for Aceh voters. There is one party also, and then more for Papua voters. So in the next election cycle, 2029, there is a potential of an even more number of political parties rather than less.
Well, then it goes back to the qualification process. If the government looks at it and says it's just too many, then they have to do something about what it takes to become a political party in the system.
The government and the House.
Yeah. Okay, more Hot Indo is ahead. Holiday cheer, where are you going for the holidays?
Produk lokal memang handal, kreasi lokal memang spesial. Ayo beli buatan negeri, bangga sekali produk sendiri. Dari busana sampai kria, kuliner juga buatan kita. Ayo beli kreatif lokal, marilah beli produk kreatif lokal. Pejuang negeri, beli kreatif lokal, banggalah beli produk kreatif lokal.
Hello, this is Anggun and you're watching the Indonesia channel, hot programs, cool people.
Hi, I'm Sezai Zorlu and I watch the Indonesia channel here in Istanbul, Turkey.
I'm Caitlin Turner, and welcome to Yoga Bliss. Exhale, reaching down to triangle pose. Roll your knee out and up to the sky, breathing here.
Yoga Bliss, only on the Indonesia channel. This is the Indonesia channel.
You are watching iPop Playlist.
iPop on the Indonesia channel.
You're watching Hot Indonesia from Jakarta. Hot topic number 3, holiday cheer. An estimated 44 million Indonesians will be heading somewhere as the year ends with strict COVID-19 restrictions gone. Authorities are deploying 160,000 personnel to keep the peace with the usual added security at churches this Christmas Sunday. The capital city already quieter as many travel for the first time in 3 years. The usual overseas destinations are heavily booked: Singapore, Japan, the US. Linda, where are you and your friends heading now that we can fly freely again?
Well, I just returned from Singapore, my first overseas trip since the pandemic. And I've looked at people's travel plans, and most probably, if my friends and I are going, it's just going to be around Jakarta because I think this is going to be the first New Year's when everyone wants to go out. So I personally will stay out of, popular travel destinations because everyone and their cousins' neighbors will be there.
Yeah, it might be the airports and train stations might be especially packed if they aren't already because of the urge to travel. You're right, and we're seeing it already. Millie, I know you're heading to Canada to visit your daughter as usual. Where are the hot spots, though, that people are heading this year? Any new destinations you're hearing about or talking about, you and your friends?
Actually, mostly the classic destinations, of course, United States, Japan, and some friends, they are avoiding the cold weather altogether. They go to Dubai. And then once they go to Dubai, they text me and they said, I think I need SPF 1000. Not only 50, but 1000. It's so damn hot here. Excuse the language.
Yeah.
But still classic destinations, Dalton.
Because, I guess you haven't been able to go for 2 to 3 years, so you want to reacquaint yourself with that. But, I'm hearing tropical places like South Seas, Tahiti, even Maldives, just something completely different that they've been dreaming about for 2 to 3 years. But it seems both of you are right. People are either going to stay in this area to avoid the crowds or head to their favorite places for sushi. And I don't know what the favorite Canadian food is. What is it, Millie?
Salmon, Pacific salmon.
Oh, okay, yeah, seafood. That's very nice. Okay.
Seafood, yes.
All right. It is feedback time now. And regarding the new activist tactic of vandalizing artwork, Joe said this: so weird and insane. And Anda offered this ahead of the new year: Indonesia's beautiful landscape and friendly people make the country a wonderful holiday destination. Yes, it does. Here's how to contact us with your feedback. Please email at hotindo@theindonesiachannel.com or comment through our Hot Indonesia or Indonesia Channel Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube pages. Now, this program not only marks our final regular episode of 2022, but it is Millie's last time with us. She leaves us to pursue her public service career for the coming election. So, one last time, Millie, final words.
Well, I would like to express my gratitude for being invited as a host in Hot Indonesia. This has been a platform for me where I could learn to express my personal opinion, my thoughts, and I have learned so much. And I would like to thank Dalton for inviting me and for being such a good friend and for being my mentor. Thank you so much. And I would like to also thank Linda, Mas Izul, and all the Hot Indonesia family. And I would really look forward to also come here again and to the studio from time to time as your guest host. Thank you and happy holidays to you all.
Final words, Linda.
It is very sad, Ibu Millie. I've only had the pleasure of being your co-host for less than a year, and every single time, I value your insights. I've enjoyed your humor. There's always this moments when you would say something off guard and I would just crack up on the show, and I would definitely miss that. I wish you best of luck for your political career, and looking forward to the lunches we're supposed to meet. Lunches without Dalton, by the way, because we're going to be talking about Dalton behind his back. Yes, of course, Ibu, anytime you could return to the show as a guest, I think absolutely. Right, Dalton?
Of course. But you can talk in front of my back.
Yeah.
And my final words: the mission of this program is to bring the issues and people of Indonesia to the world in a format and language easily digested. Having the right co-hosts is critical. People who are smart and can deliver their opinions concisely and with flair. Thank you, Millie, for your time with us, and best wishes in your pursuit to help people directly.
Thank you.
And that is Hot Indonesia for this week. For Millie Lukito and Linda Ibrahim, I'm Dalton Tanonaka. Thank you for watching and see you next time.